Welcome to the Andy Social Podcast. This is episode 185 with illustrator, designer, and podcaster Zach Smith Cameron. But before we kick into this week's episode, my name is Andy Dowling. I host this show, and I also play bass in the Australian metal band Lord. And guess what, folks? August the 1st. Insert crowd noise. Actually, I can't be bothered telling TY where to insert. Anyway, just imagine there's crowds cheering and roaring right now. The 1st of August is the worldwide release date of our brand new album, Fallen Idols. And by the time this episode comes out, fuck knows what's going on, but I would assume that there are pre-orders available right now. If you go over to lord.net.au, probably, actually the URL more than likely will be lord.net.au/fallen idols. Otherwise, just go to the main website. I'm sure there'll be plenty of links and stuff plastered all over the freaking internet because we've been waiting so long for this. But the 1st of August is when it's all going to happen. And Japan, more than likely, will release 1 week earlier, but not entirely sure yet. And as I've been crapping on for the past several months, that has been the main reason why we've been delayed for so long. And I may as well just write a book about that and it'll be a bestseller because fuck me. Anyway, so moving along, the 1st of August, it's all happening. Pre-orders will be open right now, so make sure you go and check all that out. There's different bundle packs, etc., etc. There is a tour that's kicking off from the 21st of June, which starts in Canberra on the 21st of June, the 28th of June at the Back Room in Brisbane, the 29th of June at the Badlands Bar in Perth, part of the Stormrider Festival, the 5th of July at the Evelyn Hotel in Melbourne, which is part of the Forge Heavy Metal Nightclub. We're headlining that. The 6th of July at the Jive Nightclub in Adelaide, and the 26th of July at Crowbar in Sydney, which is part of the very first ever Forge Heavy Metal Nightclub Sydney edition. And we're headlining that one. And also, sorry, I think I forgot to mention the venue in Canberra. It's the Basement. So Canberra folk, you know where to go. So everything's over at lord.net.au. You can check out the tour dates over there. Super excited about this album. I cannot wait to get this going. So you can pre-order all that stuff now. Please pre-order it in advance. We are working out some stuff about the shows themselves. I believe we're going to make the CD available at all of the shows. We'll give further details as we work all that stuff out. By the time this episode comes out, there should be some details around that anyway. But the 1st of August, 2019, Fallen Idols, motherfuckers. There we go. All right. Sorry, folks. I've been pent up for the last several months on that one. So in addition to playing in a metal band and hosting this podcast, I also host the Self-Starter podcast, which is all about small business, self-employment, and freelancing. So season 2 is out right now. That kicked off on the 3rd of June, and you can check all of that out by going to selfstarter.com.au. You can check out the podcast through your preferred podcast player. And I have pretty much recorded all of season 2. It's all banked up, ready to go. And I'm just really enjoying what this season is going to bring for everybody. And just been enjoying putting it all together. So it's been a lot of fun, a lot of great stories. And I'm looking forward to hopefully inspiring some more people to get started and execute those ideas and make it all happen. So go and check it all out. Selfstarter.com.au. Episode 30, I believe, is out right now. That's with Chris Pachenko of Vanishing Point fame and owner and operator of Speed Metal Scrap. So you can go and check out that episode. And I believe episode 31 may be out by now. I don't know. No, it won't be. I think it's next week. Anyway, I'm getting my dates all mixed up. Go and check it all out. Selfstarter.com.au. Go and check it all out. Blah, 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 blah. Thank you very much. Shout out time. Every week I thank some awesome person that supports me and the podcast. And it could be for lots of different reasons. It could be a guest recommendation. It could be a message of encouragement. It could be buying some merchandise from the online store. It could be a recommendation or a review somewhere on the internet or in real life. I don't know where you do it in real life, but, you know, get creative. Send me a photo. Let me know what you do. Whatever it is, it's a massive help. It just helps me just significantly and just means a lot to me. So thank you very much. This week's shout out is for Colin Parker. Colin is from Doonside in New South Wales, Western Sydney represent. The reason why Colin is getting a shout out is he sent me a DM via Instagram, which is amazing because I usually use DMs to send people messages, but I don't always get messages back. So it's very cool to see somebody actually using the function and sending me a message. And the reason why he shot me a message is that he wanted to actually buy a patch, one of the antisocial patches, but for whatever reason didn't want to use the Bandcamp page, which, whatever, no drama. So we just hooked it up via the old DM on Instagram, and really appreciate it. So that's sent out to Colin. Thank you so much, mate. When you hear this, shoot me a message, and I'm going to send you out a few extra little goodies to say thank you, because we all like getting something in the mail, and it's the least that I could do. So thank you very much. Now, in addition to doing awesome things, I have a page, a portal that's set up that has links to all the things, all the shit that I sell. It is antisocial.net/buy stuff, and on there you can find the online stores for Dominus Records and the band Lord, and you can also find links to my eBay and Discog stores as well. So if you're curious and you want a sticky beak, you can go over to antisocial.net/buy stuff. Especially with my eBay and Discog stores, there's an eclectic array of stuff that Jess and I are selling, getting rid of, so you can go and have a checkout. Why not? Go over there and have a look, have a sticky beak. If you can't access this page for whatever reason, shoot me a DM and I'll help you get there so you can have a bit of a look, a bit of a squiz. Some people to thank that have been supporting me via some of these platforms include, mate, I'm going to have to get this guy on the podcast. Lance Laser. Good old Lance Laser from Adelaide. Thank you very much, mates, for supporting me via Discogs. And we might have to have a chat in the podcast sometime just to talk about your name alone. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. Adam from Deerfield in Illinois in the US of A. Anthony, again, from Coburg in Victoria. Jeffrey from, I've got no idea how to pronounce this place. Chugyak, in Arkansas. AK, is that Arkansas? Anyway, in the US of A. David from East Lakes in New South Wales. David, I reckon, has probably bought so much stuff off me that's probably enough for a mortgage deposit on a house. It's just incredible. So thanks, David. Appreciate it. John from Ashgrove in Queensland, and Sven from Bernau in Germany as well. Probably butchered that name as well. Anyway, thanks so much, folks. Really appreciate it. And if you want to grab anything from me over at antisocial.net/buy stuff, and you hear me crapping on, please, you hear me crapping on this podcast, add a little message in with your order and I will add some extra goodies in as well. Just my way of saying thanks for supporting me in the podcast. But go and check it out, antisocial.net/buy stuff. Episode 185 of the podcast is with illustrator, designer, and podcaster Zach Smith Cameron. Now, I've got a little bit of history with Zach. Many, many years ago, we went to high school together. And over the years, Zach has done heaps of different things for me. He's helped me out big time. He has done the artwork for the Antisocial podcast, which no doubt you would all be familiar with by now. He has done the artwork for the Lord release, What Tomorrow Brings, which if you haven't checked that out, you should go over to lord.net.au and click in the releases section. Plug. He has done heaps of graphic design work for me, and it's just been a massive, massive help for me. I am hopeless with this kind of stuff, and especially when I'm trying to articulate a vision that's in my head, I am really not good at that. So Zach is incredibly patient and just super cool and has helped me out big time. In more recent times, being this year, Zach launched a podcast called the Cruel and Unusual Nourishment Podcast with Adam Flannery, and they talk about going around the suburbs of Melbourne and checking out all these little haunts that they can eat in. That was a really horrible explanation. We talk about that in this chat. It's a great podcast, really, really funny. They basically find all these weird places, go and eat there and document the entire experience from walking in to eating to leaving. Really, really funny, and they've got fantastic banter and they bounce off each other, and it's really quite funny. We talk about that. We talk about his illustration work, all his artistic sort of endeavors. We talk about getting in front of a microphone and dealing with that. We talk about a little bit of high school stuff at the end of this conversation. It was a little bit awkward, very Billy Madison-esque. Stay tuned for that. And heaps more. I'm going to stop crapping on. You can go over to iamzach.com where he's got all of his details there. I'll have links to all of his social media platforms. I'll have links to the podcast as well over in the show notes over at antisocial.net, or you can click through on your podcast player and all the links will be there as well. But enough crapping on from me. Please enjoy this really, really cool chat with the legend himself, Zach Smith Cameron.
It's a labour of love what we do. And, you know, I don't we're very like it's a weird feeling that my mates listen to it, like, and I never recommend it to friends. Like, not that I wouldn't recommend it. It's just like I don't want to be the guy who says, "Oh, hey, me and my buddy are doing a podcast where we like make jokes about food. Please, like, here, why don't you check it out and send some link?" I'd rather kind of just go, it's like, here, you guys all know that we're doing this. Like, I'd love it if you listened, but no pressure. And the fact that like a lot of people are actively listening to it, or a few, obviously, but like it's a really good feeling. When like I've got one or two friends who'll be like, "When's the next bloody episode? Like, get your shit together."
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, and it's like this little, like this nice little feeling, or like, like a friend messaged me the other day and he was just like, "Oh, I really liked your guest this week. She was really, really funny." And I'm like, "Oh, so nice to hear." And I pass that feedback on, and just those little moments, make it worth the while.
Oh, especially like, and I'm sure you guys do the same thing. Like you glance at your stats and you see like how many downloads the episode's been.
Well, luckily, I don't have access to the stats because I know what I'm like. No, I deliberately don't because I don't want it. And Adam tells me, and it's really good. Like I do want to know, but I have that personality where I like,
you're checking groups.
I get to the bottom of my Instagram feed fairly regularly, you know what I mean? I don't need to be obsessively checking anything. So it's good to have that off my plate, and him letting me know what's going on. So
well, it's good to have some self-awareness.
Yeah, try to. Yeah, like know where the little depression points are and stay away from them. But we recently broke 1,000 listens, and that was quite nice.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Up to episode, I should know what episode we're up to. I think we're up to 8.
Well, I think 8. I just started listening to, I don't know if I think it's your latest one, the Weird Pizza one.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, and how's that going for you?
Well, right? I've only just started, so I think you're all just sort of talking about the name of the place, and it's fairly, I guess, obvious as far as what they're trying to sell.
Yeah, totally.
And then I'll stay tuned for the rest of it. But I guess maybe because we're talking about it, we might touch on the podcast because everyone that's listening is just like, "Oh yeah, cool story, guys."
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So, I mean, where did the idea come from for the podcast?
Well, it's super easy because Adam and I, this was probably like a bit over a year ago, like 18 months ago. We were out at the pub and just out with some friends and stuff, and Adam kind of made a joke. We were talking about like bad food or something, and Adam made a joke about this blog that he had many years ago where he was like making fun of or reviewing bad restaurants that he went to, and it was called, and he kind of set us up for this. He's like, and it was called Cruel and Unusual Nourishment. And we're like, "Oh, that's very good," had a bit of a laugh at that. Cause and he's like, yeah, the whole thing was reverse engineered from that pun. Like he thought of the pun and then was like, "Oh, I have to do something with this." But then he was like, "Oh," and it trailed off or whatever. But I always wanted to do something with it. And I was like, well, let's do something. Because I was, and this is a quick divergence, but like I was in the thick of doing a drawing every day for a year, like probably in like the March of it or something like that. So I'd been drawing I would have drawn about 60, 70 pictures by then that year. This was last year. And so I was in this real, like, all it takes to get something done is to start it and complete it, like this really motivated mindset. And so I kind of put that into this, and we totally worked on it together. And it took us a while to get the first episode out, but now that we've started consistently releasing, we stick to the schedule pretty closely. Yeah.
When you sort of look at the concept, like on a high level, you sort of go, "Oh yeah, it's nothing sort of, groundbreaking, sort of original in concept." But I mean, I've listened to a couple of episodes now, and it is quite unique in a way because I didn't quite really sort of understand that there's not really much else out there like it. And you've got the foodie world, you've got people that love to talk about, food and restaurants and things like that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know if it's so much of a deliberate attempt by the both of you to find the most unusual places or the most like sometimes neglected or out of the way places, but it's almost like, you're trying to find these places that have something odd about them that may not be at the top of the review list when people are searching for something in their area.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's almost like, what do you expect from the podcast? And it's like, that's a very good question, because at times we don't know either. And like, that's, I think, part of the journey. For example, like the latest episode, I think, is the one where we've actually gone most in depth about actually reviewing the food and really kind of gotten down to how we felt about each flavor of the pizzas that we're eating, and kind of gotten in depth about that. Whereas other ones, we'll shoot off in a weird direction where we just talk about the experience of having gone to this strange place. Originally we started doing this and realized that it could come across as quite like mean. And I think that's not really what we ever wanted to set out to do. Like, if we say something that's, like, oh, the food here is a bit shit, like that could happen, but like, that's not the intention of why we do it. We're like looking to find, we're looking to find somewhere unique or weird, or that's got a bit of a twist, or that's got a bit of like an urban legends about how strange it is, within Melbourne. We put a bit of research into it. Like sometimes a good one will fall into our laps. Lazy Mo's is one that people always talked about when we tell them about the podcast. They're like, oh, there's this terrible restaurant out near the airport that I always drive past and used to eat out as a kid, and it's shit, you should check it out. And we actually went there and had a reasonably good time. And we talk about what we did there. So you never know what you're going to get.
Well, that was one of the episodes that I listened to. And,
oh, great.
And I loved it because it was, I guess it's one thing that you sort of brush over, and like people brush over and they don't really sort of think about it, because it's sort of like, you went into detail with sort of every step of the way. And so you're talking about not only like, what the food is and the menu and things like that, but you're talking about like the atmosphere. Are there people in there? What's the vibe like? And then the oddities, like, the weird sort of banter on the menus and just the staff and the embarrassing joke on the way out and all that kind of stuff. And just like I'm sitting there listening to it, I've got that mental image in my head, and I'm imagining what it is, what the reality is. And it's really good, because I think one thing that people sort of say when they talk about, things like mindfulness and all that kind of stuff, like being in the moment, and they talk about eating food. And they say, you should be in the moment eating your food and sort of imagining what you're tasting and sort of, instead of just shoving it in your mouth and getting on with your day.
Yeah, right.
This is sort of like, it reminds me of sort of an equivalent of like going through that process of going out to eat, but it's not just the fact that you've got your food in front of you and you eat it. It's the whole experience. It's walking in there, it's looking around, seeing what's weird, what's interesting, what's great, what's not. And from start to finish. And it's really cool, really cool.
Yeah, cool. Well, thanks, because I think for me that's, and I think actually Adam would say the same thing, that's actually what we set out to do. Is like, you could really go into a restaurant or whatever you're reviewing and be very analytical and very methodical about it. And while we do have a structure, I think that giving people a sense of story and narrative is a really great way to draw people into a journey and make them feel like they're experiencing an aspect of it, or at least understanding your experience. And I really enjoy doing that. And I think, to know that that's coming across is actually really great.
Have you thought, just given that you're an illustrator, that you've thought about depicting some of these episodes like visually, being able to draw something as just like a one snapshot of the evening?
Well, it's kind of funny you should say that, because we have an Instagram account, and whenever we post a new episode, I'll always draw a little picture to kind of show just a little bit of something from the episode, like kind of like a little snapshot, but it's almost like a little cartoon commentary, almost like a kind of like a newspaper editorial image, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, cool. Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'll have to go and check that out then, because I think obviously not. And that's the wonder of audio. I think audio is actually really good, because it forces people to have to use their imagination a little bit, and you're being guided through words, but you're sort of painting the picture yourself. And to see another visual come off the back of that would be quite cool. So I'll have to have a squiz at the Instagram and see what you put out.
Yeah, have a gaze. It's funny you should say that. I think that's a really good thing about audio, is that and it's similar to books, is it gives the reader or the audience an opportunity to really fill in those gaps with their own imagination. And I think that can potentially really elevate whatever that experience is. Like, for example, if we both read the same like Game of Thrones book, what we envision, like maybe like one of the big cities to look at that's really well described, we could envision that both very differently, but both in our minds it would be this really epic thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, whatever we're visualizing in our heads is based off what we've seen ourselves in over the years in our environments. So it's what we've been exposed to, and we've all been exposed to different things along the way.
Yeah, it's true. And it's that thing where like they'll make a movie or a show out of these things, and then you get all the hardcore fans so outraged because it's not what they would have envisioned. But it's somewhat, well, and ideally it's someone's good vision, but it'll always be someone's vision of that, and that's all you can really hope for, because visuals immediately center these things.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you both have a list of places that are sort of on your radar as far as what you're going to sort of look for moving forward with the podcast, or is it sort of just something that they sort of come in dribs and drabs and you sort of just almost do a sort of like a week by week sort of approach with it?
Well, yeah, it is lucky in that way, because we're only doing fortnightly at the moment. And that's good in the sense that it's just an opportunity for Adam and I and whoever our guest is to get together, have a couple of beers, go to dinner or lunch or whatever it may be, and then, just do it quite socially. And I think maybe that's the difference between what you do, which to me, and you can tell me what you think about this, appears a bit more insular, whereas I have the opportunity to just kind of bounce off someone, and it's a bit like a bit more casual, I suppose, in that sense. But we will have a few ideas in the back of our minds. It's actually been a couple of months since we've gone, oh shit, have you got any idea of where we can go this weekend? Because I've got no idea. Because yeah, like we've got a couple of things lined up. And the more that we do it, the more that people will actually say, oh man, if you're doing that, I know this terrible place or this great place or this weird place you should check out. Yeah.
I think that is a massive help when, especially something that's quite, what's the word? Like, going out to eat is something that everybody does.
It's accessible, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's not hard for people to come up with ideas, and it's not even a case that you have to encourage people, because people start to get passionate and they go, oh, I know a really good place, and then they're going to reach out, and then that just saves you a hell of a lot of headache trying to scratch your heads and try and work out where to go.
Yeah, absolutely. We're actually thinking, well, we're not thinking, we're kicking this off this weekend, and I'm hopefully now that we actually follow through, because I'm telling you about it. But we're going to start doing weekly releases, but we're going to do them potentially in a shorter capacity, like these little snack episodes, so that we can actually have weekly content releasing, but they'll be probably a bit shorter, maybe like these little 15, 20-minute bite-sized things where we'll review like smaller, more specific things. For example, one of the ones we want to do, because I'm a big fan of barbecue shapes, that, it's like they're my number one flavor. And Hungry Jack's have recently released these shaker Hungry Jack's barbecue things that you put on your chips. And so we're going to review that. And that's like not a whole episode, but it's this weird thing that we can be like, what the hell are these idiots reviewing? I kind of want to check it out. So
I think, especially if you, I'm sure you guys have obviously thought about it, but, if you're especially jumping onto something that's really new and people are starting to talk about it, then the timing can be really good as well, because you'll get people that become quite passionate on both sides of the fence. Like, people will just automatically hate something because it's different. And then you'll get people that are just totally psyched on the novelty of something as well. And so when you've got people out there that are doing some commentary on it, it will attract both sides of the fence, and it can be really, really good as far as getting feedback and people tuning in. So and also, it's a smart thing to do to find like sort of a shortened version of what you're already doing, and so you're not overcommitting with just trying to maintain what you're doing, but just make it more regular. You're sort of easing yourself into it all and into that process.
Yeah, it's just a way for us to dip our toes in, and I think that's the good thing about all this is like, we both have jobs that don't really, like, we're not relying on what we're doing with this podcast stuff for income, which is a relief because we don't make any money off it. But also, like, it just means that we can play, we can be flexible, and if things work, great. If things don't work, we can get rid of them, and it's just this way that we can experiment and muck around. And I think it's like you said before, like, it's just so character building, like, and it just gives you this great way to help articulate, you know, just how you communicate and build those skills. So it's been good for that.
Did you struggle when you first did the first few recordings, just to with the microphone and just all that sort of stuff? Because it was very, very difficult for me.
We've lost 3 episodes, I think, to just not having our shit together properly, like just bad recording and stuff. So RIP to those episodes. Like, we had to record the first one twice, the second one twice. Oh no, we've lost 4. So yeah, we've lost 4 episodes to it. Just either bad mixing or just didn't press record on one of them. So that was a good one. So you learn, you know, figuring things out as we go.
Oh man, I mean, I think I've almost ticked everything off the list, and even like as I'm talking to you now, I'm looking down at my little recorder, and the battery level went from full to 1 left. So if you suddenly cut out, don't hang up. I'll just change the batteries and just reconnect it, and it'll be fine. But
okay, great.
quite timely given the conversation that we're having. But
perfect.
Yeah, I've been half hour into a conversation and then looked down and realized the red button's not lit up, and sort of I've been creative in some cases and just sort of pressed it and then just kept talking, and then then just said later on, just go, oh, something happened with the start of that, but I've captured enough of it. Okay, cool. And then other people have said, oh, stop. Well, we might have to do this again. And then it's this really sort of awkward, we're going to try and recreate the spontaneity of the conversation. And it's like, oh man, I'm just cringing all the way through it.
Yeah, I can. I think it'd be different for you, where like it'd be hard to ask a guest that you've asked to come on to either repeat or just say, "Hey, I didn't actually capture that." Whereas, like, it's you and 2 mates. It's a little easier for us at this stage, you know, like to rehash it, because we did that. So the Lazy Mo's episode is, and you know, we're looking behind the veil of it now, but that's a whole second recording of a first one that just didn't work. It turned out like one of our mobile phones was like emitting a pulse or something like that that shot through the whole take. Have you ever had that one? Or
yeah, I've had the interference come through. So
so bad.
TY, who edits my podcasts, he every once in a while he'd be like, "What the hell is that?" And I'm like, and I'll listen and I go, I don't know, not sure. and I've had others where like just like a dodgy cable, like just, you know, it's past its last legs, and I've just tried one more time and it's just been shit. So there's been this weird interference along the way, and I've had like weird net connections with Skype and things like that as well. And
totally.
And as you said, like the ones where you've had somebody commit and you don't know them, you don't have that prior rapport, and you're in the midst of it and you realize that, oh, this is not going as well as I was hoping, and you can't really stop it, or you can't ask to reschedule it, and you just go, you know what, I'm just going to run with it, and then I'm going to sit down and conduct surgery on it and see what I can do to somehow salvage something of it. But
that sounds very stressful.
And I've had some that have just haven't seen the light of day, and I've had to just go back to people and give little white lies. I've just said, look, you know, we've had a technical difficulty or something like that. And some of them, it's not even a technical issue. It's just a really shit conversation.
Totally.
Some absolute train wrecks along the way, because you just don't know, you know, what they're going to be like and how they're feeling. And sometimes people are really chatty and it's fantastic. And other times people give you like a one-worded answer and you sort of go, oh, it's going to be one of those ones. Okay, let's see what I can do here, you know. So, but I think just all those sort of mistakes along the way, and you know, whether it be technical things or just being clumsy and making a mistake and forgetting to press buttons or saying stupid things along the way or whatever it is, like it just it's almost like a rite of passage for anybody doing podcasts, because it's just going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'd say it's all in good fun, but no, it is bloody stressful when things go awry. But I think, back to when we first started doing it, every time we'd release an episode, there'd be this list. Like, I'd be jumping into message it to Adam after having listened to it for the first time, going, man, I quit. I don't want to, I hate my voice. I can't do this anymore. I sound like an idiot. I can't believe I said this and that, cut this out. And he'd always reply with like it's fine. And I'd be like, oh, all right, fine. Don't worry. But like, just talk me off this ledge with like 2 words. Cause I'd always like have this freak out, like when we first kicked on with it. But, that was episodes ago. And now I actually kind of look forward to getting to hear the first cut of it. Cause, it's always exciting to hear. Maybe that's a bit narcissistic, but I do enjoy hearing the jokes and hearing the experience again and just how it all went and what we got up to. So
it's a really, that was the thing I struggled with to begin with. Like the first episode that I did was just a little sort of me trying to explain what the hell I'm trying to do. And
sure,
it's an absolutely disgusting example of an attempt of a podcast. But I was so ultra paranoid of, like, first of all, going through that traumatic process of editing myself and listening to my own voice. But I became super sensitive to every little thing that I said and every little tick that I had. And so I tried to remove every every like pause. Yeah. And so it sounded so artificial and just rubbish. Yeah, right. And I've thought about taking it down so many times, but then I thought, you know what, like, just keep it up there because people can listen to it and have a laugh. And then for me, it's good to see sort of where I've started, where I am now, and then hopefully continue to get slightly better as time moves on. But it's a really difficult thing to begin with to sort of overcome. And the good thing that I've sort of learnt, and I think you might sort of be in a similar boat when you're listening back. Once you do get past the sound of your own voice and you start to just sort of get used to it, it's actually quite reassuring to sort of listen back and hear yourself having conversations with other people and the banter and the back and forth, because a lot of the time you sort of go to the worst case scenario after you finish talking to somebody and you think, oh man, that was rough. Like, that was
what did I say?
Shit.
And
I was such a dork or whatever it is. And then you listen back and you go, it's actually not that bad. Like I sound okay, or parts of that were actually quite good, or it felt uncomfortable, but when I listen to it, I can't sense that at all. And so then you realize that you're inflating everything and you're over exaggerating everything. And you realize that it's nowhere near as bad as what you think.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like, I'll think about, maybe there was this one moment in one episode where I said something and I go, oh God, people might take it this way or that way. Or, I was nervous, so I had like a higher pitched voice or something, but then you listen to it and you just sound like you always sound. And, once you get used to that, I think it's all fine.
I keep telling myself that the way that I talk on a podcast is exactly the way I talk in person. And so if I'm really going to be ultra sensitive about the sound of my voice, then I probably should just shut up in general and not talk to anybody. So whether it's recorded or not is sort of beside the point. It just doesn't even make any difference whatsoever,
Well, I think in all of our minds, we all sound like we have this really cool, deep voice, but in actuality, we're all a little bit of a pitch higher. And like, I don't know how I sound. Like, you can't really be truly objective about yourself, but I feel like I have this quite irritating voice, and I've gone, and like, after all, I'm like, you know what, fine. If this is what I sound like, I've got enough friends that I know I'm not a social pariah, so people can put up with it. Just lean in and let the good times roll. So
That's it. And look, in the end, if people continue to listen, then you're doing something.
It's on them.
Yeah. Well, okay. No, true. Good point.
Sorry. Yeah.
Good point. But I mean, look, I think what appeals to you versus somebody else is it's all subjective, and in the end, you're going to have. It comes back to your environment and your experiences. You could know somebody from your childhood that just the sound of their voice was so distinctive, and then whenever you hear a voice that's even slightly the same, and you might not even understand, like, there's a connection there, but subconsciously there's something that just irritates you about that voice. and so for a lot of people, the sound of somebody's voice might be completely fine, but then for one or two people, they'll be like, that person, no way. Like, that person's got the worst voice in the world, et cetera, et cetera. And they won't be able to pick why, and they won't be able to explain why. But, it's subjective. So I think as long as somebody's listening, then it's okay. You're doing all right.
Try to.
Just shifting a little bit,
Sure.
into, I guess, all of your work as an illustrator over the years, and you've done a lot of work. And I've been following your account on Instagram and obviously
Oh,
online and
thanks,
everything
mate.
for a while.
Yeah.
You know, you're kind of talented. You've done a few things over
Thanks.
the years. You know.
Getting there. Yeah, chipping away.
I'll, I mean, there's a bunch of questions, and you know, we've talked about this already as far as me asking dumb questions. But
No, go ahead.
one thing that I think might be worth talking about to begin with, because I do, after all these years, actually have people that like the band that are now finally are listening to the podcast.
Yeah, great.
So if people haven't connected the dots, you designed the artwork for one of our releases a few years ago, for
absolutely.
what tomorrow brings.
Yeah.
From your perspective, I guess,
Yeah.
sort of what was the approach that you took with it? And I guess sort of some of the things that you had to do to sort of get, or how long it took you to get the artwork together, and sort of how many draft versions, and sort of, I mean, what can you recall from putting that together?
Yeah, I mean, I am potentially a little bit different to some artists in the fact that I've got a graphic design background. I've been in graphic design or had been in graphic design full time for the past, 10 plus years. And that really heavily informs the way that I approach illustration. And I think there's a lot of, the amount of illustrators that approach things that way now is actually quite large, in the sense that it's about finding out what the client wants and looking at things quite pragmatically. I would never say, I tend not to say that I'm an artist, and that, it even sounds weird saying that. I'm definitely like an illustrator. And so I approach things from you yourself had this idea of what you wanted, and, the kind of vibe of what you wanted was kind of based probably in your music, and that, and you also kind of told me about the lyrics of the song, and I listened to the song, quite a bit to try to get into the mood and evoke that visually. And then I guess just knuckled down and tried to, I wouldn't say I tried to put my own flavor or style into it, but that's always going to happen, because that's, I think, just an inherent part of the creative process. But yeah, just, kind of went through, did a couple of sketches. I'll be completely honest, I probably am a lot more agile now. I'll do a lot more sketches and concept stuff before jumping into a final product. But I can't remember. It's been a while. I think I probably would have showed you some sketches and you would have given me some feedback based on that.
Yeah, I'll have to go back through some old files and have a look. I'm pretty sure I've got some sort of interim sort of designs and where you're sort of leading it toward, and sort of going back and forth. But I mean, look, my memory's pretty shit these days.
Oh,
so,
me too, dude.
Yeah, but I mean, as you look back, things tend to sort of sort of condense down and seem sort of either smaller or larger than what they were. But from my perspective, it seemed to. I don't think it took that long for you to put it together. I mean, I think it was. I can't remember too many headaches around it. I think it seemed to sort of. I think once you sort of had the first sort of concept together, I think I can't imagine we were too difficult with you, but I mean, who knows?
No, not at all. Look, it's been a while since I've had a real, what I would call a nightmare client or a nightmare person to work with. And yeah, you guys were never in that boat at all. It was a fun project to work on. While we're talking, I'm trying to have a bit of a look through our chat history, but I think we had corresponded via email. So, I think it didn't take too long. But I think at that time I was working completely freelance. So even if it only took a couple of days or a day or two, I can't remember, it would have been those days working on it. So that's still anywhere between, we could say 8 to 16 to 24 hours. I can't remember, but a few days is still quite a lot of time when you think about it.
Oh, well, it is for you, that's for sure. I think on the other side of the fence, probably a bunch of musos that listen to this will probably be able to agree that when you're sort of putting together, artwork for a release, you are at the mercy of the artist, because obviously you've got to be able, there's a challenge, and you'll be able to sort of talk on this quite a bit, is where there's a distinct gap between the person who has the vision in their head versus the artist / illustrator or designer who is going to actually turn that vision into the actual visual, and that can be quite painful when you've got a concept but you cannot actually describe it properly, or you can't get it out properly. And so it can drag out for quite a long time until people are relatively happy with something, or they can start to move forward in a constructive direction.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I think take this for what you will, but I think I've actually developed a bit of a nose for smelling the kind of person to work with, or the client that's going to be essentially kind of unworkable, where they're never going to be happy with what they get, and maybe they're like, oh, I just want to get a sketch from you, and then we'll talk about payment later, and we'll talk about working for exposure and all that kind of thing, which I'm it's been a long time since I've had to do that, so that's good. But like, I pride myself in my ability to work well with people and never to get cranky if someone's struggling to articulate. I think that's part of the challenge, and part of the fun is to, like, if you've got this idea in your head and you can express part of it, it's my responsibility then to kind of go, okay, like Andy said this one part, but obviously I know that there's this other aspect that I need to ask him about. And then to ask maybe leading questions or something to kind of draw that information out. And if someone says, I don't know, that's just as good as an answer as having the exact thing they want, because then you can say to them, well, great, if you don't know, here's an option, or here's something we could try. What do you think of that? And they'll go either way. I think, like when you create an illustration or some sort of design for somebody, they're not just paying for your hands-on tools, they're also paying ideally for your expertise. If they know your work, they have some level of faith in you, and as a result want to work collaboratively with you.
And I think being able to sort of take the charge, take the lead, and as you said, you got to really be sort of intentional about the types of questions that you ask. But you don't, especially as you said, like if you got the person on the other side saying, I don't know, you've got to obviously not be this, you can't be a mirrored sort of response to say, well, if you don't know, I don't know. And then you both, it's a stalemate where you're both sitting there going, well, we're not really getting anywhere. So it's like, okay, well, I'll take that on board. And I'm going to give you, if you don't know, I'm going to give you options, and I'm going to make you decide based off what I'm giving you. And if you're not happy, then I'm hoping that I'll be able to direct you in a way that you'll be able to actually articulate what you actually do want, because you're able to tell me what you don't want. So it's but a lot of it's a real struggle. I mean, that's a communication thing in general, like in everyday life, that people struggle with when just trying to lead a conversation or ask appropriate questions to try and get to an outcome.
Yeah, I think so, and I think part of being someone who's doing work for people essentially is that you should be able to communicate. And I mean, I think that every person has kind of their strong suits and their the chinks in the armor. And maybe I'm not the best designer in the world. Like, there's definitely things that I'm a lot weaker at than others. But I do pride myself in my ability to be able to kind of communicate and know kind of the right ways to work with people in order to, make sure that everybody gets the best result. And, sometimes that absolutely is kind of going, all right, well, look, please take me as the expert and I know these things. And other times it's going, all right, well, you have a really strong idea of what you want. I'm happy to just kind of work that, and then we can talk about how we feel about the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, you must have had heaps of sort of instances over the years where you've just you've hit the so to speak brick wall, where it's just, it cannot progress any further. This is just painful.
Well, like that, I think that kind of more happens for me in, like, when you're working in your 9 to 5 or something, because I've had a couple of jobs in design over the years, and you'll always get those people who you try to put your ideas in and you try to work on something, but they're like, no, I don't like any of that. Do it this way. This is my way and I like my way. And if that's your boss, eventually you kind of have to just show your belly and go, all right, well, if this is what you want, I'm a little bit less inspired now, or this is not something I'm any longer invested in. But, at the end of the day, I'm still going to get paid, which I think now is definitely a cop out. Like, I'm very lucky in the sense that I don't have to work that way anymore. But, it depends on the job and the environment, the people you work with and the culture. And like I remember I had this boss years ago. This was like my first design job, And what he had me doing was like, he was having like a week of training classes with all the people that worked under him at this agency that I'm obviously not going to name. But he was like, all right, Zach, I want you to kind of make a little table and kind of put all the classes in the different days. And here's like kind of what I want. And he'd drawn it up on paper. And I'm like, all right, well, here with like this scribbled A3 sheet in pen and pencil, and then Post-it notes where he like scribbled over things and then put the Post-it notes over and then ripped them in half. And I was like, all right, I'll take away this kind of weird hieroglyph and see if I can translate it into something you want. And I did it, and he's like, all right, no, you got it all wrong. And I'm like, all right, well, that's fine. And I'm like, all right, no, like fixed it up and did that a couple of times, like, good, it's finally right, great. And then he'd come back later, he's like, oh, I've changed my mind about all the different sessions and what times they are. Oh. Change it to this. And it would be my sheet that was then cut up and pasted onto another A3 sheet. Like, and he gave that back to me, and I'm like, all right, like, fine. And I did that 2 more times, and like, by that time, I'm emotionally just like completely crushed. And I also went back that last time and said, look, here it is. But what I've also done is made an Excel spreadsheet where you can literally cut and paste this yourself on your computer, so it'll save you time. And I just remember he said, no, I want you to do it. And I was just like, that moment where you kind of just stare out a window and you go, why am I here? What is this career I've chosen? Who am I? What year is it? You know, like...
But I guess in hindsight now, like, you know, years later, that you're probably thankful that you went through that kind of head trauma, because it's sort of, I guess you've had an exposure to certain situations that, you know, you've been able to hopefully learn from, but you can appreciate what you have done since then versus what you've experienced in the past.
I think it's like it's 2 things in that is absolutely, like I do think about where I am now, and I work with this amazing team, getting to do really fun work, at a company I really like, and obviously back then not so much the same, really struggled with that. But I think also as a younger person, I was, would get frustrated too quickly, or I would think that maybe, obviously from the way that I talk, I feel like I'm better than that work. And I think that obviously is a factor. So it's not, I think that, even though you can be younger and frustrated and you do learn, it's also, I think it's important to know that we all grow. Like I definitely would have been a hard person to work with at times. And, when I was younger, like I took feedback a lot more to heart and was probably hard to work with in that capacity. But now I've really learned to distance myself from the work and the criticism. And, that doesn't always work, but I think you grow as a person. So while there are the horror stories, I think that there's also that sense of growth that I needed to overcome as well.
You mentioned earlier, and I completely forgot about this, because when you would recall a while ago, I hit you up and said, oh, we should do a podcast. And you're like, yeah, maybe one day. And and obviously since then, you started your own now, and and here we are having a chat. But I did make a note a while back, and I forgot all about it, but you mentioned earlier about doing your year of sketches, or doing your year of illustrations.
Right.
Do you think that doing something like that, or taking on a challenge like that, has sort of been another sort of example in a different way, but another example of you having growth and sort of, things such as discipline, or even just your basic skill set to be able to be better as an illustrator?
I think to be brief, it might actually be the best thing I've ever done for myself and my career. It was stressful at times. And, not all the work was my best work, definitely not. But it was about like a habit and a commitment and follow through. I think those things for me, it really helped change me, and also like allowed me to learn more about myself as I continued to constantly just output work and then see it and grow. Pardon me, sorry. Like it was an invaluable experience. I think previous to that year, which being 2018, my work, like I was proud of a lot of the work that I was doing, but just the level of like kind of speed at which I can work now, and being less precious and looking at work objectively, and just so many other factors. It was such a good experience for so many reasons. Like at the end of the day, I really don't think anything can substitute for hard work.
I think that's one thing that I've suddenly, like in more recent times, had that sort
Yeah.
of light bulb moment where it's like, oh, is that all that's needed? Like, is it just me showing up? Because I mean,
Yeah, 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 totally.
and it's very simple in concept, but
Yeah,
extremely difficult to actually execute. But it's not, as you know, a lot of people say, it's not rocket science
yeah,
in a sense. You know, you
yeah,
just have to keep showing up, and it's that
yeah.
discipline which is extremely hard for the majority of people out there. But if you can just maintain that commitment, then that's three-quarters of the battle already achieved.
I, I look, I couldn't agree more. I think that like sometimes it seems like in life there are these mysteries to things, like, oh, how did that person do that, or how do you kind of become this or do these things? Yeah, just start. Like, and I actually I don't know if I would tell people to start things. What I would say is don't start things, finish things.
Mm.
The more things that you can finish, even if they're not perfect, the more you can kind of learn from what you've made and kind of look back at it and do more. Yeah, I really believe in just kind of showing up.
Yeah, the follow through is a big thing. I mean, I've
Yeah,
certainly I've seen that as far as you give me a piece of paper and tell me to come up with a bunch of ideas on a subject, and
yeah,
and I'll come up with all sorts of weird and wonderful stuff, but
yeah,
the ideas are only sort of a small percentage of exactly what needs to be done in order to sort of achieve anything. You've got to follow through and be disciplined and be consistent and all that. And for me, like I'm going through something at the moment where
oh, right.
I've got a project that I've been working on for quite some time, and
Mm.
it's been really good, and I've been enjoying it. But I'm starting to get, and it's like anything, you get your ups
Yeah,
and downs, your bursts of
yeah, totally.
motivation. But I'm really starting to feel that this is going in a direction where I'm starting to really lose the spark, and that I'm going to
Yeah,
have to make a pivot or make a decision. But for me now, I'm looking at it going, I need to be able to find that finish line,
yeah,
not just say throw it up in the air and just move on to something else and neglect it. I need to be
yeah,
able to
totally.
round it off, close it off, finish it off, and that's the end of a chapter. And then I can at least pat myself on the back and say, look, it's not a long-term thing, but you've achieved it, you've finished it, you can pack it
Yeah.
away, and then you can move on to the next thing. And yes, I'm just talking about a jigsaw puzzle, but that's my attempt at comedy. No, it, like seriously, like, I've this has been a challenge for me in the past.
Yeah.
I've started lots of really amazing ideas and got started,
Yes, yes,
planned.
yes.
I've drawn things out, put a plan together, and then when you hit that first little, that little roadblock where you realise that all the sparkly excitement starts to wear off
Yes.
slightly, and you go,
Yeah.
"Oh, this isn't as fun as I thought," and then it
No, there's lots
just
of work to do here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, what's that work thing? Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's really difficult. And I guess off the back of that, I mean, one thing I was
Yeah.
going to ask you is what at what day, so
Yeah.
what numbered day did you hit that first wall where like, because obviously the day one you're like, yeah, pumped, ready to go, let's get
Yes.
started.
Yes.
But what day was the first day where you sort of went, oh man, okay, this is a struggle.
All right. So the good thing is I can quickly hop on my Instagram, and I feel like if I'm going to look at the pictures, I'm going to
You
see
can
the
tell
picture where I go, yeah,
the one you
like
dialed in.
you will look, that happened. There's a lot of nights of that because like I'd be doing it on like a Friday night, half pissed coming back from the pub, not even half pissed, all the way pissed. You know what I mean? Like, and you got nothing in the tank. It's 5 to midnight. I'm like, Jesus, you need to get something done so you can fall asleep on your face. And yeah, so not everything, definitely not all gems down here, but oh bugger, I was really hoping my Instagram's not working. I wanted to see if I could find it, but I reckon it would have been like maybe the first month of doing it was actually kind of quite stressful, and I would be putting, maybe 2 to 4 hours aside every night to kind of sit down and after work or whatever and just focus and go, look, you need to kind of think of this idea and what could it be, and all your lines need to be perfect, and you need to be drawing it on paper and then scanning that in and then tracing through it in Photoshop and all this kind of stuff. And then it gets to like, Monday, you got home at 6 o'clock at night and it's 10 o'clock and all you've done is draw in front of your desk. And it's like, well, I've got some other stuff to do. That you start to go, well, hang on, there's other ways to do this, and, become a bit quicker. But then that also results in being a bit rattier. And yeah, like some of them, I remember I was actually house sitting for a friend kind of midway through the year, didn't have access to the computer, and we'd all gone out for post-work drinks on a Friday. I think we were out till maybe like 11:30. I'd Ubered over to the house I was staying at with a couple of mates, and we were all just had a couple of casual drinks there. It was about 12:30, and I was off my chops, and I'm like, you haven't drawn anything yet. And so I drew this, like, just this little slice of watermelon with a face on it. And I was like, all right, this is, yeah, great. All right. And then just like woke up in the morning to see that I'd posted it, which was good, because I don't remember doing it. And then, like, a couple of mates, like a mate messaged me the next day. He's like, yeah, you really phoned that one in, didn't you, dude? I'm like, oh, God. That was the day I realized, like, people are watching it, but people could tell when I'm, like, you know, shitting the bed a bit on a couple of them. So, you know, like, posted every day, some better than others for sure.
Were you surprised by any of them throughout the year? Like, where, I'll try and word it the right way, but like where you probably felt like you've done a minimal effort, but they've actually come out really, really good, or you've been quite surprised with what you've been able to achieve just with probably less amount of prep work or less amount of time being invested?
Yeah, well, look, you know, I think there's plenty of examples of that. Like, the kind of illustration I did for your album cover is the kind of thing I quite enjoy. Like, quite, you know, sort of more realistic, kind of highly rendered, high contrast colors, like, you know, and I try to put a lot of work into the color. Yeah, and like that kind of thing, which does take a lot of time. And, you know, if you're doing something every day, that doesn't usually work. So, you know, I'll do some pretty fast and fabulous kind of drawings, but then, and now, you know, people give them a couple of likes, get a couple of comments, and that's really fun. But then I remember, like, towards the end of the year, I kind of got really obsessed with, like, Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I've been, like, doing a lot of tabletop gaming. I'm pretty into it. But, like, I thought it'd be really fun if I, like, did these, like, really cool, like, video game concept art level rendered drawings of me and my friends' characters. And so, you know, one of them was like this kind of orc ranger that I spent like 3 days like drawing and redrawing and rendering and putting all this effort into it. And I think like a couple of days before that, I drew a picture of a little cat on the toilet doing a poo, and he'd been caught, and he looks a little bit shocked, and it's just a stupid little picture. And that's got, I think, double the likes of the picture I drew for about 16 hours. So, and I drew that in probably half an hour. So it's just weird. Like, it's about, I don't know, like what you do, people will give it different responses. And at the end of the day, like a bit of a funny joke is something that'll capture someone's imagination maybe more than sitting there drawing the most amazing portrait. You never know.
That's it. You just don't know what's going to hit the mark. It's sort of like, this is really stupid comparison, but it's sort of almost like posting images on social media and hitting the sweet spot of the time of day when people are on, and, you know, you could post this really meaningful or amazing, you know, a lot of effort put into this particular post, and nobody responds because you've missed the sweet spot. But then you could post a picture of I don't know, just something really sort of mundane or stupid or something like that, and just hit the right time, right place, and hits the right nerve with the audience, and suddenly it's off, and it's doing great. So sometimes you just can't pick it until it's out there in the public domain. But one thing that I don't think it was part of, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it was part of your year sketches, but I cracked up laughing at I don't think you put it up too long ago, but the cockatoo eating the slice of pizza.
Yeah.
And somebody tattooed that on their leg.
So bloody wild. Yeah, that's a mate from Brizzy from a couple of years back. I've known him, and yeah, he hit me up online, like, you know, not too recently before that, and said, yeah, like, I've got this idea, and if you click to the next picture in that little post, you see that the cockatoo on the roof of the pizza, like a photo of it. And he's like, I want you to draw this for my leg, and I'm like, this is bloody sick. I can't wait to draw it. Sketched it up, and he goes, I'm like, here's the first draft, let me know what you think. He's like, look, I'll be honest, it'd look a lot cooler if he had sunglasses. And I said, you know what, you're absolutely right. And yeah, it's so fun that he did that, and I'm like really flattered. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's a good example of something that's very simple in nature, but when I saw it initially, and sort of I noticed it before I even noticed that it was actually a tattoo, and I sort of looked at it and went, "Oh wow, that's hilarious!" And then I thought, "Oh geez, it's actually a tattoo." And then I scrolled across, and then I saw the actual real photo of the bird on the roof with the slice of pizza, and I thought, "Oh my god, this is a real thing!" And then that just made it even better. So it's just classic. That, I mean, going back to what you said before, I mean, you can spend 16 hours putting together this piece that you put a lot of time and effort into.
Yeah.
But sometimes something very simplistic in nature can strike a chord if it's got the right ingredients, and sometimes in the right context.
Well, I think ultimately a lot of creative stuff, and you can tell me what you think of this, is that it all comes down to that story and capturing people and I wouldn't say hooking them in, because it sounds like there's that intent to kind of draw something out of people, but more just create something that does have a sense of purpose and story. Because, I could sit for the next week in my room just drawing a self-portrait that's just this perfect photorealistic picture of my face. But like, what does that mean to people? It's like, about creating something that they can engage with. And, the idea of a cockatoo eating a piece of pizza is kind of inherently a little hilarious. So I think that's going to capture people a bit more.
I think it was a box was instantly ticked, just at the concept alone. And the fact that, I mean, the fact that I scrolled across on that picture and saw the real life one, I think that just was icing on the cake. It was fantastic. Yeah, really good. I'm keeping you on the time, and I reckon I could keep talking to you for ages. And I'm quite surprised, because all the things I wrote down, I haven't even scraped the surface. So, we might have to catch up. Maybe sometime that I'm down in Melbourne, we might catch up and have a beer and have another chat. But
sounds good. Yeah.
Maybe one thing before we wrap it up. People listening to the podcast know that you designed the logo for this podcast that we're talking on right now.
Yeah.
So I must say, and I'll put on public record, thank you very much for
thank you for asking.
Making that happen. And have not hesitated in not changing it. Is that the right way of saying it? Anyway, I haven't.
Sure.
That'll do. But it has become like a real sort of logo and branding for the podcast, and
awesome.
It's fantastic. And at any time where there's sort of been me sort of thinking about ways to sort of improve the podcast from a visual aspect, that logo has just done me wonders. So something that I think is fairly simplistic in nature and ticks the box. It's certainly done great things for me. So thank you very much for putting that together. And
thank you for asking. Yeah.
And I didn't want to miss that, because I wrote that at the start and I thought, oh geez, I better mention that. The last thing before we wrap it up is life drawing. So there's a few examples on your Instagram, and I'll link people to that so they can have a sticky beak.
Oh, thank you. Great.
How much life drawing have you done? Because for me, I've always, and I'll stereotype big time, when I think of life drawing, I think of the stereotypical nude person in the middle of the room, and everyone drawing the nude person. But I think some of the stuff that you've done seems to be, well, not in every case, but seems to be a little bit more cosplay sort of at times.
Well, so I have done basically all the life drawing here in Melbourne that I've done was through workshop with a teacher, or a host of the class. Her name is Hini Hanara. She's still doing stuff down here. Maybe if I, find a link to share of her and her co-host John Luke's stuff, you can find them in Melbourne for anyone who's interested. But the thing that they do is they try not to do a traditional life drawing in the sense that everyone comes and very quietly waits for this nude person this person in a robe to take their robe off and all sit very quietly and very seriously drawing. It's much more of a kind of laid back, fun atmosphere for people who are relatively new. And I just went so much that I became less new, obviously, because I did it like on and off for a couple of years since I've been down here. But they do, like maybe sometimes it's a bit of a cosplay thing. Like one of the things I've got up on my Instagram is like a Buffy one and like a Tomb Raider one. Some of them are more just like like a Salvador Dali one they did, where this girl had this big like cloud wig on that was quite strange and weird. But some nude, some not. I actually prefer nude because it's just easier to draw. Because, for example, like they did a David Bowie one once where this guy was wearing this really ornate outfit and a 6-string guitar, and I don't know about you, but I don't really feel like drawing a 6-string guitar every minute for like 10 minutes. Like, it's just a nightmare. Like, the human form's a bit easier to grasp, I think, in that sense.
What,
But yeah, it's great.
what's the format? So I don't know how the format works when you go into these things. So obviously
Sure.
you sign up, you go in.
Yeah.
What's the approach? Like, what's the expectation, or what's the outcome that everyone's trying to achieve?
Well, I think the best, if I could give any recommendation, is to don't have any expectations or hope for any particular outcome out of yourself, because I think a lot of beginners will really beat themselves up or go, oh, I'm no good at this, it's hard or something. But the moment you kind of let that go, it becomes a bit easier, you loosen up. Because I used to hate it with like just a real passion, because I was quite bad, but I eventually turned a bit of a corner. The good thing about the live drawing class that I go to is they started out with a bit of wine and snacks. So
Nice.
yeah. Well, it works out pretty well, because like by the time you've had like your second maybe wine and the class is starting, the edge is off. You feel a bit more relaxed. You've kind of been chatting to people. Everybody's being a bit social, so it's a bit more fun and easygoing at this class. So that helps a lot. And I think especially when people are new and maybe they come into this class and not knowing what to expect, I think it's a good way to loosen everyone up.
So they bring the person, the subject out, and is it a time sort of situation?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's generally like it'll start with the host kind of saying, hey, welcome. This is the theme. Thanks for coming. And they'll actually kind of, at least at this one, say, all right, we're going to start with, maybe like a couple of 1-minute poses. Then we'll do two 5s. We'll do 2 7s, a 10, take a break, come back for 2 15s. And that ends up taking about an hour and a half. And that'll be the whole session. So you've got timed, yes, all timed generally.
And is it this is probably really dumb questions, but
No, go ahead.
At the end of it, do you sort of all sort of get up and compare results? Is there something, or do people sort of wander off on their own and not share things? Is it a bit of a private sort of thing, or I guess because it's sort of a group sort of workshop, it's probably more encouraged to show each other, what you've done and like, not so much compare, but to show each other what you've produced.
Yeah, look, exactly. We're encouraged to share. Like, I've been to other classes where that doesn't happen at all, full stop. Like, everyone sits and draws, and then maybe if you take a break and have a wine, everyone's got their, sheets covered, and like a lot of people actually had their easels down so you couldn't see what they're
really?
up to.
Wow.
Yeah, but this one, no, it's like on the breaks, like, the hosts would say, please, everyone show off your stuff. And like to the point where people are like unclipping their clipboard and getting multiple drawings that they've done and putting them out and just sharing them around. And, I do it too. Like I, am a bit of a show off, I think sometimes, especially with life drawing, if I'm having a good night, and I'll like pop out a couple of the drawings, and it's nice when people come over and, give you a few compliments if you've done a good job. So it's all, and yeah, you have a look at other people's and you chat and you talk, and yeah.
I think it'd be a really difficult thing for some people if they don't have a degree of confidence yet, and they're still trying to work themselves out. Where, like as you said, like those examples of people sort of covering up their work or putting the easel down or something like that. Like I'm sure it's like anything creative. It's emotive, and people put what they feel is their best into something, and then suddenly you might be comparing to other people, or you become ashamed of what you've done. And so I would assume that in some cases, and it might not be regular, but I assume in some cases people would be very standoffish and probably quite resistant when it comes to, I guess, this whole process, even though they've signed up and they've rocked up for the workshop.
People are usually pretty good. Like, I mean, I think people get cagey, and that's pretty natural. I've never seen anyone like, kind of get really frustrated and throw up their arms. I think they're kind of there because they want to give it a go. But I mean, there is that level of confidence that sometimes people lack. And I used to have that where I'd get quite frustrated. But obviously I'm coming at it from a bit of a different angle now. So I think also, if, just try to be supportive of those people if they're having that issue. I think it's learning and doing new things is just an inherently frustrating process, I think.
Oh, it's my biggest flaw. Like as soon as I'm in a situation where I realize I don't know anything, or I am not doing something well, my knee-jerk reaction is to rebel, is to push back, it's to be as difficult as possible, be stubborn, and I've gotten better over the years, and I pause, but it can be very difficult to overcome, and so I can certainly appreciate when other people go through those feelings.
No, I'm the same. Like, for all my talk of developing and growing, like, it takes me twice as long as everybody else, because sometimes I can be a bit of an old dog that won't learn any new tricks. Like, I bought an iPad recently, and I'm still so bad at using the kind of drawing apps and stuff on that, because I've got my Photoshop set up and my, drawing stuff at home that I'm just so good at using now that it's like learning a new language. I'm so good at English. Why would I want to learn something else, So I struggle.
Well, I'll be struggling after this phone conversation, because I am inspired to have another attempt at trying to draw again and sketch.
Do it, please.
I've made lots of attempts, and constantly throwing sketch pads across the room at walls, and also sort of having little mini temper tantrums. But I guess as we said before, the sort of secret ingredients with a lot of this is just showing up and putting in the hours, and over time, things will pay off. So really, I mean, even just to sort of get your comments on to the year of doing sketches every day, and also for you to sort of make the effort to go out and do these other things such as life drawing. I think it shows that you're sort of branching out and trying to find different ways to improve your skill set.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Like, it's good to, get out there and show up and try new things. If I could make any comment about doing the drawing a day, I think, like, there's a lot of people, including myself, who, like, would sketch every day. But I think it's probably more, it's good to sketch. You need to do that. But I think it's also very important to finish drawings. Like, you can sketch a million things, but I think if you were to finish half a dozen, there's a lot of value to that. And so I think if you can kind of get into the habit of completing things, that's where there's a lot of growth to be found.
All right, I got to complete a bunch of stuff, and we'll complete this conversation for the time being. You like that? Yeah.
Very nice.
This is me attempting to be a professional.
Yeah, nailing it.
But Zach, look, it's been. I mean, obviously we've been keeping in contact over the years, but I think this is the first time we've actually had an actual conversation.
Well, we didn't actually mention that we went to high school together for 2 years.
Look,
I'm sorry, should I not have said it?
No, definitely. And I was actually going to kick off the start of this conversation tonight with something, and I might actually wrap it up, and hopefully it doesn't leave on a. I already
feel like I know what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, well, I was going to say right at the beginning. I was going to say, look, let's. I've got to address something, and I think it's really important that I think when we were in high school together, we had a few scuffs, and I cannot remember what they were, but I just remember that I was a bogan rat of a child. And I wanted to put that out in public record, and I thought I might do it to begin with, because I thought it might set the tone. And I just wanted to say, Zach, I sincerely apologise for being an absolute cunt of a kid.
No, like I'm the same. Like, I apologise, because like I can't for the life of me remember what we were going on about. But like, it's funny, because half the time we would be sitting together having lunch, and then all of a sudden, like, I've only got the memory of maybe one or two little scuffs myself. So
yeah, I
think like, and the thing is, we've never even felt the need to talk about it before. So I think it's probably all good in the hood. But I was like, I think it's going to come up. I hope he kind of doesn't bring it up. But yeah, maybe now that we talked about it, yes, I think it's all water under the bridge. So there you go.
All I remember is falling into bushes a few times in the garden.
I remember that. Yeah.
There's a few of them. But I think also, from what I can recall, is that there was a bit of a tendency in our little group of people that we would push each other into bushes anyway, just for the sake of it. And I think maybe we pushed each other just a little bit too much on a couple of occasions. But I kind of feel like leading into this conversation, because I was thinking about it, and I thought it might be a bit of a comical way to start the conversation.
Yeah,
but I was envisioning like the scene from Billy Madison where he's got the names of the people and he's calling up and he's like, oh, I'm really sorry, and then suddenly the other guy's like crossing the name off the hit list or something like that.
Yeah. Well, I am putting lipstick on right now, just like Steve Buscemi. So you're off the hook, mate. Yeah.
Oh, whew, thank goodness. But so we've obviously known each other for quite a few years, and this is the first time I think we've actually had an actual conversation outside of high school. Maybe. I mean, we might have. We caught up.
I think we caught up once quite a few years ago with another fella from the Brisbane metal scene.
We did.
Dave. Yeah.
We did. That's right.
Yeah.
And that was.
But that's been about it, mate.
Yeah. And that was at least
15 years ago.
At least, yeah. So it's been a while. It's been a while, mate. It's been
too long.
That's right. So we'll catch up for a beer sometime soon in Melbourne.
Sounds good.
I still have a list of like really silly questions I'm going to ask you, but I'll save it for next time. But appreciate the time.
Yeah. No. Well, look. In the spirit of being open, thank you so much for having me on. I mean, I'm just a guy just doing work and doing a job, so it's really flattering that you would ask me to come on and talk about what I do. Thank you very much.
To dive deeper into Zach's world, you can go to iamzach.com, or you can go to andysocial.net and click on the show notes for this episode. Or alternatively, if you are listening through a mobile device or a podcast player, you should be able to click through to the show notes, get your little stubby digits out, smash them against the screen. Not too hard, don't crack the screen or anything. And there'll be a bunch of clickable links there so you can reach out to Zach and let him know what you thought. Highly recommend that you guys take an extra couple of minutes to reach out to these guests on the podcast and let them know what you thought of the chat, because it will no doubt validate that sacrifice that they made to cop an ear bashing from yours truly. Updates. All right, folks, you heard it at the start. The 1st of August is the worldwide release date of Fallen Idols. Oh, finally, fuck yeah, let's get this fucking show on the road. So, lots of stuff happening. You can go over to lord.net.au, probably lord.net.au/fallen idols, but otherwise, I mean, just go to the website, go and find us on social media. There'll be links plastered all over the freaking internet. We've got a press campaign that's either started or it's about to start. I've got no idea, because I'm recording this a little bit in advance, but the 1st of August is the deal. That's when it's going to be released online, everywhere. All the pre-orders are going to be sent out, probably a little bit before that, but more or less the worldwide release date will be the 1st of August, and Japan should get it 1 week earlier than that, although that is still pending at the time of me recording this little outro. You can go over to our Bandcamp page, which will have all the pre-order packs available. We haven't set this up at the time of me recording this, but I believe there'll be just your stock standard, get the CD and the digital download. You can get the t-shirt and CD pack, and there'll be some form of deluxe edition, which I believe, it's not 100% just yet, but it will be the CD. There'll be a bonus CD, which is sort of like a karaoke version. Obviously, everything digitized as well. There will be, and that bonus CD is limited to 100 copies only. There'll be the t-shirt. There'll also be some patches. I believe we're getting back patches done. I've just got to find the doors. Anyway, stickers. There'll be a whole bunch of stuff, and there'll be a deluxe bundle pack that people should get. And I would encourage you guys, if you got the coin, grab that one, because that's going to be the biggest help for us, that big deluxe baby boy pack. I don't know why I said baby boy. Anyway, I was thinking of Luis Gomez. Episode, what was that? Anyway, 169? Something like that. No, 179. Oh, jeez. 178. Fuck. All right. Anyway, moving along. So lord.net.au, Fallen Idols, out the 1st of August. Get all over it. Share it around. Let all your mates know. And we're going to start drip feeding more information as we go. Oh, and also, sorry, as mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we're doing an Australian tour that kicks off on the 21st of June at the Basement in Canberra, the 28th of June at the Back Room in Brisbane, the 29th of June at the Badlands Bar in Perth, part of the Stormrider Festival, the 5th of July at the Evelyn Hotel in Melbourne, which we are headlining the Forge Heavy Metal nightclub, so go and check that out. Great lineup. The 6th of July at Jive Nightclub in Adelaide, and the 26th of July at Crowbar in Sydney, which is us headlining the very first ever Forge Heavy Metal Nightclub Sydney edition. So make sure you get out and support that, in addition to us as well, you know. So go and check all that out. It's tour dates are plastered all over the internet. They're on our Facebook page. Bands in Town were on there. So if you use that app, make sure you RSVP for those shows. And also lord.net.au, of course. So heaps of stuff happening. We are planning to have the CD available at all of the shows. Almost had I don't know what happened then. All the shows, even though the release date won't be until the 1st of August, we are going to reward you folks for coming out and seeing us, and we're going to make sure that CD is available for you guys to grab. Just don't go and pirate it or something like that, please. Fuck. Just help us out. We're helping you, so help us. So it'll be available at the shows, and anybody that pre-orders any of the bundle packs will be able to collect the CD at the shows if they let us know in advance and just show proof of purchase, and we'll hand a copy of the CD over in advance. And it's a good way of just getting a taste of it before the release date. So there you go. So anyway, all that stuff. Self-Starter. Season 2 is out now, and the first episode, which is episode 30 of the podcast, with Chris Pachenko of Vanishing Point fame and owner and operator of Speed Metal Scraps. So that is a fun chat, lots of interesting things that I got out of that chat, and I'm looking forward to sharing the upcoming episodes as well with you kind folk as well. So that is going to be running until the end of December. And that'll be the end of season 2. And then I'll weigh up whether I kick into a season 3 or not. I'm not sure yet. My plate seems to continuously get filled up with stuff. So I'm going to reevaluate towards the end of this year. And if I do a season 3, it'll be the same deal as this year, where I'll take the first 6 months off to concentrate on other stuff and getting things together. And then I'll launch season 3 in the second half of 2020. But let's not get ahead of myself. So we'll see how we go. Okay, before we wrap it up, a couple of last minute things. Thank you so much to everybody that's watched the podcast videos and left little messages of encouragement and positive feedback and some criticisms here and there, constructive criticisms. I'll take them on board. Thank you very much. That was a big challenge for me. I didn't think I'd actually follow through and get it done, but I've been thinking about it for a while, and I think the timing is perfect for what's happening in the industry in Australia when it comes to podcasting, and globally as well. So I want more and more people to start their own podcasts. So if you're out there and you've been thinking about it, please let me know, and please go and check out those videos, and I'm more than happy to help, because I have grand plans. And the first things first is get a few more of you awesome folk to start your own podcast, and we'll go from there. But anyway, go and check all that out. You can search for me on YouTube, Andy Dowling, and there'll be heaps of stuff online there. There's an 11-part video series. All the videos are about 2 minutes each, and it'll just get the mind moving in a direction of how do I get this whole podcasting thing started. So go and check all that out. And I know I'm crapping on. The last thing is the mailing list. Now, by the time you guys listen to this episode, I would like to think that I've actually sent out my first mail out. So I don't know, folks. I haven't done it yet at the time of recording this. So we'll go and check all that out. I might go home and actually go and send the first mail out. Anyway, go and sign up. You can sign up via andydowling.net or andysocial.net and sign up to the mailing list. There's links in the descriptions of all the podcast videos, so you can sign up there. You get a free 20-odd page PDF download of all the podcasting stuff and other cool bits of information. And I'll continuously send out mail outs every month that gives a bit of a recap of the month that was, some giveaways, exclusives, and lots of other cool little bits of information. So go and sign up and let me know what you think. But that's it, folks. All done for another week. More great episodes coming in the coming weeks. Thank you very much for the support. Keep spreading the word. Blah, 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 blah. See you later.